Welcome, Central Indiana sports fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for my new podcast, Greg and his friends talk sports. I'm your host, Greg Mengel, and every weekday afternoon, my friends and I are talking about whatever Central Indiana sports fans are talking about. Quick format update going forward on this show. We're going to start every show with a sports update made specifically for Central Indiana sports fans in 5 minutes or less. Then we'll get to my friends with their opinions on the news of the day. Also, we may be returning to 7 days a week. Most weeks, of course. I'll take a few days off here and there. Hope you enjoy the new format. I think it's going to be really cool. Coming up after the daily update today, Wednesday, April 15, 2026. Hope you got your taxes done. I spoke with our Purdue guy, Jake Dunn, who lives in Charlotte. Before we did this week's Purdue report, released earlier this morning, we talked about the upstart Charlotte Hornets and a fantastic first day of the NBA play-in round. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, my friends and I will be back tomorrow. And here's your daily sports update, tailored specifically for Central Indiana sports fans. We start today with some Colts news, and it's some surprising news. Just a couple of days after announcing that they would seek a trade for veteran Kenny Moore and losing Nick Cross to Washington, the Colts have signed former Charger safety Nick Adderly. Adderly was a second-round draft pick of the Chargers in 2019, but missed the last 2 years after retiring. He says he is now completely healthy and just missed it too much. Darian DeVries and the Indiana Hoosiers added a fourth player through the transfer portal on Tuesday. Former Turkish professional and SMU star Samet Yigitoglu, a 7'2", 270-pound incoming junior who averaged 10.7 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks while shooting 64% for the 2014 Mustangs last year. 24/7 Sports now ranks the Hoosiers portal class the second best in the country, behind Louisville, obviously. The only other team in the Big Ten in the top 20 is UCLA at number 8. Colin McMahon of On3 Sports tweeted Wednesday that Colorado transfer Sebastian Rancic, a native of Slovakia, canceled his scheduled visit to IU. Tons of portal news on Tuesday, both men's and women. Former Jeffersonville star Michael Cooper will transfer from Wright State to Cal, according to On3 Sports. Micah Shrewsbury and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish have landed Logan Duncombe, who averaged 18.3 points and 8.3 rebounds and was Big South Player of the Year last year at Winthrop. Gabe Cupps, who played for IU a couple of years ago, is committed to UIC in Chicago after spending last year at Ohio State. In women's college basketball, Terry Moore and the IU women have added Aussie Jessica Petrie, who formerly played for Nebraska. On Instagram, former Noblesville star Reagan Wilson announced she's moving from Iowa State to Toledo. Super Sam Frick tweeted Tuesday that Columbia City's Addison Baxter is transferring from Butler to Miami of Ohio. And former Hamilton Heights star Cameron Runner will play at Colorado State next year. She averaged 18.2 points as a sophomore last season at Evansville. The Portland Trailblazers are the 13th team to punch their ticket to the NBA playoffs. Denny Advia scored 41 points, including the go-ahead three-point play with 16 seconds left, and also had 12 assists in Portland's first postseason win since 2021. They will face 2-seed San Antonio in a best-of-7 series starting Sunday at 9 p.m. The Suns will now face either the Warriors or Clippers at home on Friday for the 8th seed in the West. The Warriors and Clippers start tonight at 10 on Prime Video. That's following the Magic versus the Sixers at 7:30, with the winner taking the 7 seed and will face the Boston Celtics in the opening round of the playoffs. And the losers get the Charlotte Hornets, who advance to Friday's win-or-go-home final play-in game in either Philadelphia or Orlando by beating Miami 127-126 in overtime on LaMelo Ball's drive with 4.7 seconds left. My friend Jake Dunn is in Charlotte, and he and I talk some Hornets coming up right after this recap. In Major League Baseball, Brady Singer, Graham Ashcraft, Tony Santillan, Emilio Pagan, Sal Stewart, and Spencer Steer came up big in the Reds' 2-0 win over the Angels on Tuesday. The rest of the team sucked. They just could not hit. But they're now 10-7 and tied with the Pirates in first place in the NL Central. The Cardinals are a game back after a 10-inning, 6-5 walk-off win over Cleveland. And the Cubs and Brewers are 2 games back after the Brewers lost their 6th straight on Tuesday, and the Cubs beat the Phillies 10-4 in Philadelphia behind 3 RBIs each from Nico Horner, Alex Bregman, and Carson Kelly. Kelly homered in the 9th, his first of the year. Also in the National League, the Diamondbacks beat the Orioles 4-3. The Braves are 11-7 after beating Miami 6-5. The Padres defeated the Mariners 4-1, and the Dodgers beat the Mets 2-1. In the AL, the Tigers beat Kansas City 2-1. Mick Abel shut down the Red Sox for a 6-0 win for the Twins. The A's are above 500 after beating the Rangers 2-1, and it was Angels 7, Yankees 1. The Yankees have now lost 6 of their last 7. Gonna have to make this 10 minutes or less because I'm not gonna make it. IU softball scored 8 times in the 4th, including Alex Cooper's grand slam, and won its 5th straight 11-1 over Notre Dame in 5 innings Tuesday in Bloomington. The 32-10 Hoosiers are at 34-9 Louisville today. In college baseball, IU overcame an early 5-0 deficit and beat Indiana State 17-12. There were 11 home runs in the game, including 2 each by IU's Caleb Koski and Indiana State's Nick Sutherland. Miami of Ohio ended Purdue's 5-game winning streak with an 11-inning 5-3 win in West Lafayette. And Butler beat Ball State 8-5 in Indianapolis. Some local news and notes. Logansport has hired Hayden Deaton as its new boys basketball coach, according to Bo Wickers of the Pharos Tribune. The 27-year-old Deaton was the JV coach at Logansport the last 5 years and is a former McCutcheon and Grace Star. Warren Central girls basketball coach Lenny Krebs has resigned his position after going 162-58 in 9 seasons there. On Tuesday, Zionsville tight end Theo Schott, maybe the state's most coveted high school junior, tweeted that he visited IU and, quote, can't wait to get back. And IU All-American Shea Shesky has signed a training camp deal with the Phoenix Mercury. Some high school sports news. The 2026 Madison County Girls Tennis Tournament kicks off today at 5 with Pendleton Heights against Anderson, Alexander against Madison Grant, and Frankton LaPel. And Elwood softball is 5-0 after a walk-off 9-8 win over Clinton Prairie. Kenley Nolan with the game-winning single. They play 5-0 and 4th-ranked Yorktown at Yorktown today at 5:30 in a battle of unbeatens. And we will have all of Wednesday's results on Thursday's edition of Greg and his Friends Talk Sports. Please stay tuned for my friend Jake Dunn on his thoughts on the Hornets win over the Miami Heat on Tuesday night in the NBA play-in tournament.
Joined now by our Purdue guy, Jake Dunn. Jake and I are recording the Purdue Report for this week. Please go check that out. We're going to be talking a little basketball, some spring football. But, Jake, the motto on this podcast is we're talking about what Central Indiana sports fans are talking about. And, Jake, one thing Central Indiana fans definitely love is the NBA playoffs. And Jake, the Hornets are one of the best stories in the NBA this year. What's it like there in Charlotte?
The Hive is alive. That's for sure. This the first time since I've been here in my almost 4 years that the Hornets have actually really been worth anything. I can remember the days where going to games, tickets were like $1, and there was nobody there, and the team just was not good. So it's good to have some playoff basketball here in Charlotte. I think whenever the team is good, the crowd is rowdy and into it. It's one of the best environments in the NBA. I think whenever the team is good, and this is the first time since I think the Pacers blew them out. First time they've been in the playoffs since then. It's a great story. I see a lot of people online saying that this Hornets team is the Pacers of last year. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but
I think the Pistons may have something to say about that.
Yeah, I think certainly a fun team to watch, but I think that Pacers comparison is a little bit of a stretch there.
Here's what I'll say about the Pacers is I think that the Hornets and Pacers may have some playoff series in their future.
If I'm still here in Charlotte at the time, if that happens, I would love to go on and cheer the Pacers while they're here. But this game here tonight, not one that I think the Hornets probably should have won. You take a look at the stats here. They shot 32% from three, which is not terrible, but not great. And that's with their two stars, the two leading 3-point shooters in terms of makes, Con Kneppel and LaMelo Ball. They were combined 2 of 22 for this game from three. That's just something that, if your two best players, who are also your two best 3-point shooters, if they're not making shots, you probably don't expect to win the game. But they were helped out by Miles Bridges and Brandon Miller. They were both 5 of 10 from three. Also, Moussa Diabate, he's been really a revelation here for this team. He's for the past year or two has had more of a reserve role. Hasn't really been a big factor here for this team, but he finished the game with 15 rebounds. He's always fighting on the offensive glass, and just a guy that kind of wish Purdue had somebody like that could go out and just dominate the glass like that. But
the Pacers could use somebody like that.
Absolutely.
I was thinking about that tonight.
Also, we should mention Kobe White. He hit the. It was a prayer. It was not really much of a different word for that. But it was a prayer that he threw up there towards the end of regulation that tied the game, and then the Heat go down and Tyler Hero misses a shot to go into overtime. So that absolutely crazy finish there at the Hive, and wish I would have been there in person. But
I'm sure LaMelo Ball's already the most popular person in Charlotte, but after this, it's going to be a whole different level.
It's even crazier that he himself went 2 of 16 from three, but still finished with 30 points. So pretty crazy stat line there. But 10 assists and 5 rebounds to go along with his 30 points.
And you gotta love that he wanted the ball and he was the only one that touched it on the last possession.
Myself and other Charlotte Hornet fans were kind of thinking that he may not be, a guy who's capable of leading a team to an NBA championship, as a leader. I think that still might be true, but it is good to see him lead the team here to, to a. Some people don't want to call the playoffs. I'm kind of in that camp, but yeah, that's a good way to put it. A postseason win, and I think Charlotte will remember for a long time.
And whoever they play next, I don't know if the Hornets will be favorites, but neither of those teams is playing very well.
So the Hornets would travel to one of those places to play them. I think they can certainly beat one of those teams. To your point, they're not playing particularly well right now, and I think that would set up for a really interesting series with the Pistons. I was at the game where there was a big brawl between those two teams earlier in the season. They don't really like each other. They actually played this past Thursday. It was a close game until the Pistons kind of pulled away late. The teams didn't shake hands after the game. I heard that Tobias Harris kind of told the coach for the Pistons that, hey, we're not shaking these guys' hands. And coach is like, okay. And they just went back to the locker room after the game after winning by 18, I believe it was. So they don't really like each other. So I think that would make for a pretty interesting series here between these two teams.
And even that aside, if you ask me which of these teams do you want to see in the playoffs, the Hornets, the 76ers, or the Magic, it's not close. The Hornets are by far the most entertaining of those three teams.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Certainly hope they can make the playoffs, but it would be cool here for the city. The Panthers, they had their first playoff appearance in a few years. The Hornets are the first time in the playoffs in a handful of years. So the Charlotte sports scene is kind of on the upswing, which is definitely a change from when I first moved down here.
Everybody go check out the Purdue Report released earlier Wednesday morning. Appreciate your time, Jake.
Thanks so much to Jake for joining me and to you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with more sports news and more friends to talk about it. Coming up this week on the Central Indiana Sports Report, we will have an IndyCar report for you first thing Thursday morning. Greg versus Will versus the world on Friday. Also working on putting together a Colts report for Friday as well. Then please join us for the Fever report on Sunday and the Pacers report on Monday. IU on Tuesday, Purdue on Wednesday, every week on the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thanks again. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie.